All right, y'all. It is time to shine. It is time to shine. I'm your host, Julian Smart Ripple, King Jewelz, here for another very special edition of the Run the Jewelz podcast show and vidcast series. Thank you all who are tuning in on the Wisdom app. Shout out to our behind the scenes Wisdom listeners getting exclusive access to our episodes for season 4. But we are diving into the last leg of our season 4 episodes, you all. We've had a great season thus far. I'm excited for all the hard work and just diligence and patience that we put in this season. And so if this is your first time rocking with us, just to let you know, the RTJ Lifestyle Show was created to spread inspiration to young professionals and millennial entrepreneurs who want to learn wisdom on how to shine brighter in their careers or their business. And so if you are a millennial, if you're a Gen Zer, or even if you're a baby boomer, we still got love for the baby boomers. We definitely thank you for rocking with us and tuning in because we are going to be hearing a ton of jewels from my very special VIP guest who is getting ready to come to the stage. But for those who may also be interested and being one of our future guests on a later season, we are allowing applications to go in right now for our next season. But you have to fill out the interest form that we have in the comment section below, and we'll have our team comb through and see if you have what it takes to be one of our upcoming VIP special guests on our upcoming season. And so shout out to all of our shining VIP jewels that have already been a part of this season. We could not have made this show a success without you. Also, you can listen to our podcast on all music and podcast streaming platforms. All you have to do is search for the Run the Jewelz podcast, and you'll be able to see our cover art. And you could also listen and follow us on Wisdom and Clubhouse to get exclusive behind the scenes access and even quick jewels tutorials that we host for our Patreon subscribers, and also for some of our VIP jewels that are partnering or sponsoring our episodes. And so shout out to all of our partners and affiliate VIP sponsors for this season. But those are all of my housekeeping. If you have any questions, Wisdom listeners, at any time of today's session, feel free to come on to the stage, and you'll also be able to ask any questions. This is the interactive show. And so if you have any questions at any time, feel free to come on stage. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Just ask and you shall receive. But today's episode title is How to Establish a Career in Creative Production. For all of those individuals that are in some form of production, especially if you are a creative content influencer or a content creator or even a podcaster, you're going to be learning a lot of key jewels, tips, and also hacks from my very special VIP guest. I met this king at the Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta earlier this year. He was actually speaking at the festival along with myself and other dynamic speakers. And he's also living in California, where I'm originally from, in Oakland, California. But he's in, I believe, the Southern Cali area. But I'll let him tell you a little bit about his background. He's worked in production, major production projects that are all the way from Hollywood, all the way down to indie, and also, I'm sure, Black cinema projects too. And he's a dynamic creative himself, a speaker. And most importantly, he wants to teach all of us today about how to establish a paid and successful career in creative production. And so without further ado, I want to introduce you all to my very special VIP guest, Matthew. Let's bring Matthew up to the stage. Matthew, how you doing today, King?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Hello, everyone.
Yes, we appreciate you coming on. I know we definitely had to have you on because I know you're a busy man working on a ton of projects this season. And so what we usually start off with our guest, Matthew, in introducing themselves, to tell us, Matthew, where your hometown is, where you're tuning in from today for our episode, and then why is this an important subject for you to talk to us about today?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I'm currently in West Hollywood where I live. And this is an important subject because, I was working in all types of industries and I had a dream to start my own business, and I did. So, yeah, I started my own business in creative production, started with video, and now I've gone to podcasting and built a professional career around it. So, I'm really excited to share with anyone else how to do it on their own.
Absolutely. Shout out to Cali again. The West Coast, best coast is what I always tell folks that I meet from Cali. It's a whole different world out there, whether you're in SoCal or NoCal. But definitely shout out to all of those that are tuning in today. We're here with my very special VIP guest, Matthew, who's going to be talking to us about how he established a successful and prosperous career in creative production. And so, again, wisdom listeners, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them at any time on the stage. But Matthew, let's start from the bottom, bro. Like, how did you get into a field of production? Did you work in production projects when you were in high school, or did you have a mentor or a coach show you the way earlier on in life? Like, what got you into the creative production side?
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do production since I was younger. So my dad actually bought me a camera in high school. And I like wrote my first script and made my first film. And in high school, I won like my first award at a film festival. So like
Wow.
what I was doing when I was younger, I was going to festivals, I was printing my own business cards, I was networking with people. I got involved with Black cinema at first. So I was in like the Real REEL Black Men's film festival. That was like a dream when I was little, and I got in there when I was like 18 years old. And yeah, so started making like tons of films and everything when I was younger. And then I was like, I want to go into doing this professionally. So I applied to film schools and I got into film school. And I went to Biola University and studied film. And there's where I really took off. So I made my first film, Be the Man, when I was 18 years old. It won a Directors Guild of America Student Film Award. And I really pursued film like all throughout that time. I knew I wanted to build my own company later on. But first, I started interning at places like Warner Brothers and Disney and things like that. So yeah, I started off really early, and then when I graduated during the first recession. So all the jobs that are available were like I worked in like Apple retail, all the way to Apple retail leadership. But then I started in um, startups for a while, and the startups I wrote really took away. Um, the startups are really helped me grow my network for my business. So when I was working at startups, I was working at like WeWork and other co-working spaces like Mindspace as a senior community manager there. And there's where I met like all of my contacts that ended up being my clients. So when I was surrounded by all these entrepreneurs, I was like, okay, well, let me take those skills of making film and turn it into a business. So I was like, let me bring narrative storytelling, which is what it was at first, to businesses. So I did some narrative storytelling and then really expanded it to kind of whatever their video needs were. And in 2020, when the pandemic happened, I was asked to um, do a podcast for an agency. So I did my first one and really just started posting about it on LinkedIn and everything. And fast forward to 10 shows later, I've produced, we've gotten 3 awards and tens of thousands of downloads. And now I'm a producer with a professional show under Red Table Talk. So I'm producing the show Navigating Narcissism under Red Table Talk podcasts. I'm the lead producer on that. So yeah, that's really the quick story of how my career got to where it is.
I love it, King. I love it, man. And definitely, you've worked in different variations of production and even, like you said, tech. And so, like, what made
Mhm.
you, for those who may be at that crossroad too of seeing, like, do they want to go into like the tech space versus, let's say, going into a solely like creative production studio or something along those lines? Like, how did you
Mhm.
make that decision, or did you see the benefits of one versus the other and going career wise into?
I always think it's good to have like a lot of skills. So, make sure to keep yourself hireable. So I really just kind of like fell into tech. And I
Mhm.
worked in like social media management. I basically have just always had a career. So, you know, like I can probably have like 3 or 4 different resumes, one focused on like tech support, one focused on social media. But really, I remember when I was working a tech job at Apple, I was like, "Oh, I want to make movies," and she was like, "What are you doing about it?" So then I had to like say, "Okay, I'm actually making productions on my own, making indie projects, really to kind of like pursue that route." But I think there definitely is an advantage of having a lot of different skills to keep yourself hireable, because it takes a lot to run your own business, like a whole lot. So making sure to always have like a base, so you're not ever worrying about money while you're going in your career.
No, that's a major thing in monetization right there. What Matthew is telling myself and all of us who are listening, you got to have the dollars in order to support your dream and your vision, especially when you're first starting off. And so let's start from, like you said, the beginnings, like when it came to funding your own projects. Of course, I'm sure, and you could tell us your story. Like, I'm sure you had to put together a lot of different pieces and a lot of different potentially like scraps in order to make a full meal to have your own project produced. Like, how did you go about funding your own personal projects before you turned it into a business, or did you start with the business first and then turn it into monetized business?
Yeah, so for personal projects, I've always done some sort of fundraising to get there. So you'd be surprised how many friends and family really want to help you out. So really just putting it out there. I mean, I actually did a launch for a fundraising campaign for my film Level 12 that we're going to be filming later this year, and I launched it on my birthday. And basically, people gave me birthday gifts that like really contributed to my film. So we still have money set aside for that, and we're still fundraising for that project. But yeah, it's really just asking friends and family, really working hard, putting savings aside to really do what you need to do. And then as far as for my business, that was like charging to like get money from that. So yeah.
Yeah, getting those donations and even getting those seeds as basically them partnering with you too,
Hmm.
family and friends. That's always a key jewel in itself, is really
Hmm.
having people sow into your business and sow into your vision, which is an
Yeah.
awesome thing to consider. And we definitely going to talk about like the crowdfunding and also other ways that you were able to monetize earlier on, before we dive into how you got truly established in the production side. But we're going to
Hmm.
highlight really quick and let you take a quick commercial break, our VIP sponsor. Each and every episode, we highlight a VIP sponsor for each episode. And so if you are a business owner or if you are a service provider, we can partner, and you can partner with us and our international audience for the podcast to have your business or your brand seen or heard with our audio and visual podcast. And so let's take a look and see who our podcast sponsor is for today, you all. Let's take a look. So shout out to our VIP sponsor for today. Comes from none other than ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN, if you are someone that travels a lot, and you know that you still need to be on certain US based servers, or even if you're in Europe or wherever you may be, VPNs are definitely a way to be able to still look at your favorite websites, access certain servers, emails, and things of that nature. So we use VPNs when we travel internationally, and Express is definitely one of the top three that comes highly recommended by content creators. And so shout out to ExpressVPN, where you can receive a free 30-day trial of browsing with your VPN by clicking on the link that we're putting in the comment section right now. But shout out again to ExpressVPN. But back to you, Matthew. We definitely want to highlight our VIP sponsor for today. Talk to us about, like, when it came to starting your business. We highlight a lot of business owners like yourself, but you're farther along than some of the small business owners that we've had, because you've been established from when we were talking, when we met. Like, talk to us about, like, how did you get the courage in order to invest in yourself, not just as a worker or an employee, but to actually own your own production company and own your own business?
Yeah, I mean, when I started basically, like when you start receiving money, it's like you can't just receive it like with like PayPal and Cash App and Venmo all the time. At a certain point, it has to be established. So like with everything that I did, like the first step that I did was I started got with an invoicing system. There's a bunch of them out there. I use one called Honeybook, and basically with them, you pay a monthly fee and then you send contracts and you get like money through it. But then all of a sudden, I had to start paying people, and then there's taxes. So I even reached out to an accounting company to really sign up and get incorporated. So it's really important to get incorporated um, when you're in your business, especially if you're hiring people and you start receiving money, because it really starts to snowball fast. So the first thing I would say is like get your LLC, get your S corp designation. S corp designation is really great when it comes to taxes. So I did that. In the very beginning, once I really started getting serious. And then, that turned into a six-figure business in 2 years. So I needed to really have that background in order for like the taxes and everything to be legit with everything. So yeah, definitely like get established. And it took me like 2 years before I was ready to do that. Because when I was making like not much, it wasn't like much. It was kind of like or friends kind of hiring you. But when you start actually working with companies, like they're not going to pay you by Venmo. You have to have like a way for them to pay you. So that's like with the invoicing system, there's a way for them to pay by ACH or, their systems or credit card. And you kind of have to have all your ducks in a row. So that is really important to do.
Yeah, that's a major jewel in itself right there, is having a legit payment system that Matthew is telling all of us. I'm dropping the jewels on Matthew for that one. He's running a ton of jewels for us. You have to be able to have your partner, your client, be able to pay you successfully, and everybody doesn't use Cash App or Venmo. So it's
Right.
like you were telling us, you got to be established, you all. And so talk to us even about that piece too, Matthew, when it came to you being able to network through your previous jobs, and even through your friends and family. Like, how did you get a lot of gigs when you started getting more established? Did you get a lot of gigs through word of mouth, or did you get a lot of gigs through just establishing ads or marketing online your service or your business? Like, how did you go about getting your steady clients afterwards when you were established?
Yeah, so it really actually came down to word of mouth. I actually haven't had the time to do marketing or run any marketing campaign because it really came down to that. So the first thing that I did was I did reach out to like certain people for my first podcast. So like my executive coach, I reached out to him to say, hey, I'm available for podcasting. And then like I had a meeting, like just set up a like 30-minute like coffee call with the founder of a business saying, hey, this is what I do. And then from those two meetings, they hired me. And then from posting about it, excuse me, just the word got out. So really all of my clients really have been referrals. And really, if you do good work, that's when people really think about you to refer people. So I'd say 100% of my business has actually really been referral based.
No, that's a blessing right there in itself, because
Mm-hmm.
as you said, your quality and your integrity stands for your brand. Like I know you know, especially from being a business owner, that people are always going to want to work with you if they know that you are of good character and you have
Mm-hmm.
integrity. And so, like, talk to those startup owners or even startup entrepreneurs that still are trying to get their brand established. Like, how did you put your best foot forward in your career so that that can leave doors open to go and solicit partnerships or even potential clients through?
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk to us about the importance of establishing your brand while you are still working as an employee in a career.
Yeah, so like the first thing that I did was really start working almost for free in the very beginning.
Mhm.
So like the first show that I did, I didn't have really all the experience to really do it. For video stuff, I did it for like cheap too. So like the stakes were low, like if I messed up, but I really just came there with like really a heightened expectation, definitely like bringing excellence all the time. So like my
Mm.
first podcast I did for free. The first two I did for free, actually, and then afterwards I started making money, and then I had something that I could charge and doing like the research for it. So I'd say,
Mm.
even while you have a job in the beginning, start off by like looking up rates and really kind of like researching how things go. But really don't be afraid to do anything for cheap to free in the beginning because it can really snowball into something bigger.
Ooh, that's a jewel in itself, Matthew. A lot of people don't like hearing that word, to work for free and to get
Just
your
for a little
chops.
bit.
Yeah, just for a little bit. That I know as a speaker, and especially from being on the speaking trail, you got to get your
Hmm.
chops up in order to really get people to value you and invest in you, because they don't know you. Like you mentioned,
Hmm.
they don't know really what you stand for. So you have to be able to be willing to align yourself with certain groups and certain partnerships in order to let them get your foot in the door. And so, like,
Hmm.
when it came to really taking your craft serious, because a lot of entrepreneurs, especially, they may see a couple hits there from clients. When did you know, like, this is actually something that I can do full time and that I actually want to continue this journey as an entrepreneur and a business owner? Like, how did you decide that mentally, and also what were some of the obstacles you had to overcome earlier on in your business?
Yeah, so the obstacles I had to overcome was really just like getting an established cash flow, because it's like I would have a contract here and a contract here and a contract here, but like you have to really like know your monthly budget and know like where all the checks are coming from. So before I went full time, I did get a part-time job, and I was lucky to find one that was flexible enough for me to do both. So that's what I kept as something where I never had to worry about it. And I went full time once I got a big contract. And that was actually a risk because it was only like maybe a 6-month contract, but I was like, okay, I can do this. And it really just like lit the fire in me to do the hustle. I'd say like the biggest obstacle is like sometimes there's termination clauses, like contracts need to end, with podcasts or businesses. Like sometimes they put a lot into it and sometimes they do it for a few years, which I've had amazing clients that did it for a few years and then it's time to sunset it for a bit. So really making sure you have that next thing set up, always the hustle. But I did encounter a thing where I a couple shows just started to end, which was not like a bad thing. It was just kind of time for them to end. So then I flexed my other skills in video and started doing video and real estate, and things like that. So like always have like a backup skill, I'd say, just in case things kind of change. And then always be applying for jobs and do big asks, I'd say. Really what made me like go full time with it. I ended up getting like a job again, like a big producing job, but it was like taking the experience of startups and doing big asks to do the next thing.
Ooh, that's a ton of jewels right there, especially in juggling. You
Mm-hmm.
talked about juggling and really being able to wait until you were able to make enough money to quit your part time, or so that you can devote your full focus on the business full time. And so, like,
Mm-hmm.
speak about like when it came to your network and your circle. I know I met your mom at the conference, and I'm sure your family is a big support system, but
Mm-hmm.
do you have like a support group of friends, family, loved ones, even individuals that may be a coach or a mentor to you talk to us about your community or your tribe that has kept you supported and uplifted during those hard times early on.
Yeah, so I've actually had a coach on and off since 2017. So my current coach's name is Johan, and I work with a company called Novus Global. They're actually a client as well. So I think it's like really important to always have a coach because working with the coach is really what helped me like move forward. They're the one who pushed me to do the big asks. They're the ones
Mm,
pushed me to like get more clients and give those big goals and like to meet those big goals. So I've like hired a professional coach to really help doing that, and I think it's definitely like
mm.
worth the investment when you have it to do. And there's coaches at all different type of rates. I just love this company that I've worked with. And then also like sharing your success with family. Like I'm in a group text with my family and I share what's going on. And then my mom has even referred me to clients. My mom has even hired me to do stuff. So really kind of like keeping your family and friends close, because when you go out for like support, people are there for you.
Yeah, yeah, your tribe is everything. And even
Mhm.
with that, like I'm sure you may have experienced a little bit of that potentially when you were first getting started. Like when do you need to, I guess, not cut off people, but having potential haters or potential individuals that may see your progress, but of course they see you shining and may not be shining themselves. Like how did you navigate any potential naysayers, or even if there were some family members or friends or associates that were underlying like hating on you or trying to be on some shiesty type of behavior when you were getting ready to launch? Like how did you overcome any of that negativity that may have been a struggle for you?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't really had that, so can't really answer that question. I mean, I hire a lot of people. I'm always there to give advice for things. I'm like super nice. So if there's a hater, I don't know about them, really. you know. So
I love
maybe
it.
some people started unfollowing me. I don't even know about it, but I don't know
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it, man. No, that's a beautiful thing. I know a lot of the Gen Zers and even some millennials too. They struggle with the fear of success, where if they
Mhm.
become successful and other people around them are not successful, that they of course may be on the sidelines, sort of hating or trying to throw some venom on a sneak tip. So, like, how would you recommend even Gen Zers or millennials that may be dealing with that right now, with a fear of success, that other people are not on the same level as them and they may get left behind? Like, what would you tell a Gen Z or a millennial who may be dealing with that right now?
I would say definitely like focus on yourself and make the first steps. I mean, people are always gonna like have thoughts, you know. You don't necessarily need to like have lunch with like 10 people and tell them about like your ideas and everything. It's okay to move like smoothly under the radar and do your own thing. I'd say with anything, especially as you get popularity, people are going to start to like wonder what's going on and maybe putting discouraging things. I remember when I was moving to San Francisco, people were like, "Why are you moving there? It's like the most expensive city, like in America." And I was like, "Well, people afford to do it sometimes." So that I think that's the first time. I mean, people afford to do it, so why can't I? So I'd say that like that was probably the first time I had not really haters, but just like really criticism, like smart criticism. But I tried it and I did it and I survived. And I feel like my career got to where it is today because of like making that risk and the people that I met. So I'd say just try it and do it, because at the end of the day, like you're the one going to sleep with yourself every night, and you're the one who like is happy with yourself. So definitely just go for it.
Yeah, that's a major jewel right there too, King. Is where you got to believe in yourself and
Hmm.
really just know that you can't be downgrading or downplaying your talents or your skill set for other people to feel comfortable with the light
Hmm.
that you have. And so, like, of course, you were on the speaking trail too, and you work. From when I know we were meeting and originally talking, you like working more behind the scenes, and so let's talk about
Yeah.
that. Like, in the production arena, do you see more people that are creative influencers and business production owners like yourself? Do you see people working more in one field versus the other, or do you see people that pivot into working in both, like in front of the camera or in front of the audio versus working just behind? Like, do you see any pivots like that in the industry?
Yeah, so I feel like there are definitely two camps of people, the people who are like in front of the camera and behind the camera, and you can have a really established career with that. But then there's also some bleed when you want to establish like your brand as the person for people to look out for. So like on my website, like I have my picture and I have my bio and I have like the team's bio. Like people are looking for you to have those things. So that's why I come on and do things like podcasts to establish my brand. So that's kind of like where it bleeds like a little bit. But for the most part, I am behind the scenes. But I do definitely put myself out there to have a voice and tell people what I do, because that's how like business grows. When people are like looking and thinking like about people for things they're going to refer you. So you really kind of do have to have a voice out there and go and speak and be on podcasts and things like that. So establishing your social media presence is strong.
Yeah, yeah, and even from like speaking in public, because I know you were speaking too. Like,
Hmm.
do you feel that people who are more technically based should challenge themselves more in the production industry to be more vocal about talking in person or at conferences or at events or festivals, even about what they do, even if they may be shy and just want to stay in the background? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it kind of like depends. I mean, I've heard like a lot of feedback where people are like, "Hey, do an improv class to really like get out of your skin," which I think is like a really smart and like fun thing to do. But I'd say like with me like going out and like speaking and taking a risk and investing the money to do a conference, I would meet like contacts like you. I met some other like really big contacts actually with some big studios at the Black Podcast Festival, and that like took the risk for me to do the workshop. That was one of the first workshops that I've done. It's not the first workshop I've ever done, but one of the first workshops that I did like in my business. So it was a really like I remember when I saw the advertisement for it, I was like, why not apply? And I applied and I got in. And really taking that risk, I feel like has taken my business to the next level. And it's really just kind of like getting out of your comfort zone a little bit to take that next step, because everybody who was established were probably nervous at some point.
Yeah, yeah. And I literally, when we first met in the speakers lounge, I was
Hmm.
just so in awe about that. Was my first podcast conference that I've been to, let alone even spoke at. I'm more in the
Hmm.
education conference space and the training and development conferences that I've spoken at and even attended. But seeing that many Black creatives, and
Hmm.
especially those that were from all over the U.S. to come to the Black Pod collectives. I think their third ever Black Pod Festival. That was my first time even learning about Black Pod Collective. So shout out to Black Pod Collective and their Black Pod Festival that aligned myself and Matthew, who we're speaking with today, together. But that was a mind-blowing experience for me to see that many Black creatives in one
Hmm.
space,
Yeah.
especially that are in the podcast sector. And so, like, how
Right.
was that for you? Like, how did you enjoy just being in that environment? Is that something that you've seen before in Cali, or is that like something that stood out to you from your career field? Like, what do you think about the conference space like that?
Yeah, I feel like those conference spaces are really important because it feels like you're not alone, and to really like hear from a lot of people like the different tools that they are using. You're like, oh, I'm using those tools, or I'm not using those tools, and I can learn to use those tools. Like it's really great to get from just behind the scene, behind the screen, where you're just like on Twitter or something and like actually like meeting people. Like I met somebody who I've been following for a while, and like we connected and stuff. So it's really good to meet people in real life.
Yeah, yeah, the conference space is a whole different ball game. I love being able to network, and even if I'm not speaking or training at one, I still like just going just to see the logistics of
Hmm.
the conferences too. And so, like, talk about the logistics, especially because I know you're in to the technical side of production and even your own company. Like, um, why is it important to pay attention to the details and the logistics when you are working in production versus just winging it? Like some people that watch entertainment or watch these shows that you produce think that a lot of time and a lot of patience and discipline didn't go into the logistics and the planning. Like, why is it important to be really detail oriented working in production?
Yeah, it really just shows yourself. excuse me, as a professional. So like the first thing that I did was like I was trying all the different podcast platforms. I tried Zencaster, I use Restream a lot, and right now I'm using Riverside the majority of the time. um and really just like learning and like doing those things. I created like a tech guide for it, to really help like the guests feel established. And I've even do tech run throughs, and that's like really important because you got to get that quality out there. So I think it's like definitely really important to like learn those skills, definitely important to like really be organized. I have a podcast tracker like for everything that keeps everything organized. And then when I went and got like my professional podcast job, all the podcast things that I was doing, they really just I was able to just transfer and use them. And that was because like I took the risk. I was using the most professional stuff, and it's usually not that expensive. Like Riverside, I think starts at like $30 a month or something. And I was using Frame.io, which the company I work for now also uses Frame.io. So it like you have to like put yourself in like using professional things, because when you work with clients, they're going to take you seriously, and you can charge more.
Yeah, no, that's the right program or the right app or the right connector when it comes to your business services is key. Like you
Mhm.
mentioned, that's a key jewel in itself. And even you are like the third or fourth person that I've heard about using Riverside, especially. So like how have you liked using Riverside? Just out of curiosity, I know a lot of podcasters that I met at the pod festival said they use Riverside. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's great. It's one of the best out there for sure. It doesn't have a live streaming function, I don't think. But really for pre-recorded, you're able to get like some of the highest quality video, highest quality audio. You can use it for like show video and just record audio for a deal. But I find like it's definitely like one of the best to use. And then especially if you want to start like working professionally in the podcast space, you pretty much have to use something like Riverside, because they're going to be using something like that.
I love it. And what are some of like the other softwares or even potential even apps that you can produce on your phone quality wise successfully? Like what are some other apps that you would suggest some people who want to get into creative production should be using, or software that they should be using?
Yeah, so I'd say if you're getting into podcast production, Anchor is good to get started. But I'd say if you want to get serious, definitely like start to use like a Zencaster. I use Transistor a lot to publish my podcasts, so I'm just going to focus on podcasts for now because that's I'm doing that more than like video. But I use Transistor, which is an excellent way to publish your podcast. I have like 5 podcasts that are hosted on that. Um, you can use Riverside. They have an app too, where like if people don't like want to use it on a computer, they're on a go and they want to like do a recording on the phone. Of course, computer is always the best. Riverside is great because they have that backup option for that. Um, yeah, so I'd say like recording on like Riverside, Zencaster, Restream, even StreamYard, are good. And then publishing on Transistor, editing a Descript is really good for that. So
Mm.
Descript is really an excellent editing tool. Um, and yeah, those are the tools I'd say like kind of for podcasting.
Yeah. The script. I had one of the brothers who I met at the festival that spoke on it on their platform in one of his sessions. So I literally just found out about the script too, and
Hmm.
a whole bunch of other platforms that are hosting platforms, like you said. So it's literally so many great tools out there for people who are
Yeah.
serious about their brand and serious about getting into podcasting, which goes
Hmm.
into like one of the next points too. Like what are some of the career fields that people should know about that are not that much difficult to get into if you don't have let's say a portfolio that's already been established, if your resume is not fully like 3 to 5 years in? Like what are some of the career fields that you would recommend some people can get started in the production side that you've seen, or even people coming straight out of college or even wanting to pivot into a production career?
I'd say starting off at the bottom as like an intern or a PA. Like I had dinner with a friend recently and he was like, "Yeah, I started off as a PA and then got like I was like, I can't do this anymore." And then he like showed his chops and was able to get in production and now he's a successful TV producer. I have another friend who also started off as like a PA and then ended up being an assistant to a really big celebrity and worked on a big show for a while. So
Mm,
I'd say just like take those jobs that are like $200-300 a day, like be like a really good PA, but maybe not the best if you don't want to like stay in it. So like don't get
right.
orders messed up or anything. But don't be like basically show that you can do, excuse me, show that you can do more throughout the process. So I've definitely started as like intern jobs, PA jobs. I've started on desks and really just putting your best foot forward. I'd say so. Start with like the low jobs, being an assistant on a desk. I know so many assistants who are now successful agents and partners now, worked
Mm,
in mail rooms and worked their way up. So that's where it really gets started.
yeah, gotta start from the bottom and grind your way is what Matthew is
Hmm.
telling you all today, dropping those jewels. You can't be afraid of starting where you are. And even like
Hmm.
that's what I was gonna ask you. I meant to when we first met. Like um I just had the question. Yeah, being out in Hollywood and basically in Cali, like of course it's the city of dreams. Do you see like the reality of people that you've worked with from either living or even being on the production side that are actually able to afford the lifestyle of what people see on TV or what they see from different movies and things of that nature of living out in Cali if you're trying to get into production and being able to afford living out there, especially in Southern Cali where you're at? Like, do you see
Hmm.
the starving artist perception a lot, or are people actually able to sustain themselves a career and like actually live and grow in Southern Cali if they're getting into creative production?
I mean, it is definitely really expensive. I mean, with gas at $7 a gallon and like freaking avocados at like $3 an avocado, like
Right.
it's definitely like really expensive to live out here. But I find people like have the hustle, and you don't have to live in West like Hollywood or something. You can live like there's so many different places where you can go. There's rent control in West Hollywood that you can find. There's rent control in the Valley that you can find. And on your days off, like do DoorDash or do like Instacart if you need to just to make some extra cash. If you're really about it, you're really going to put it out there. And then when you hit it big. And yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because out there in Cali, I know it's much more accessible than being here in Atlanta where I'm at with seeing celebrities, and also I know you've seen people that work in the entertainment industry on a regular basis, and so like
Mhm.
that's always something that I ask people that actually live out in Cali and don't just like work out in Cali. Like, is it sustainable living really, or is it really a city of dreams, like movie
It's
type of
sustainable. Like you can live in so many different places. So it definitely is sustainable, I'd say. I mean, I've lived here all my life and I've been able to make it. So it's definitely sustainable.
I love it. So y'all hearing
Yeah.
firsthand from Matthew, who's out there, and letting you know that you can make it out in
But
the city of
right,
dreams.
but I feel like people like start here a year and get churned out and go back home. So if you're about it,
Right.
like definitely come out here with like 3 or 4 months savings in order to kind of like not worry about it too much.
Yeah, that's what I hear a lot of times. People always run out of money, so they have to go back home where they came from.
Right.
But like even as a final point before we transition into final jewels, we know that with production, just like with what you mentioned with podcasting, there are a lot of remote
Hmm.
positions that you can work anywhere in the world, or even just work anywhere in the U.S. and still
Yeah.
be able to get paid. So like talk to people who may not know about those luxuries of working in some production positions or some
Hmm.
podcast production positions. Is it a lot of flexibility with remote work, and how would someone go about searching for gigs that are remote in production?
Yeah, I'd say for podcasting, like I like work with a guy who does remote editing for me. I work with someone who does remote transcripts for me. There's associate producer roles that are remote where you're just doing like a lot of scheduling and getting things set up. So there's definitely those things out there. And as far as getting started, like if you get a skill of like editing, which isn't like super hard to do to get started, there's so many podcasts that go on editing, like go on Fiverr, go on Upwork, to like get those gigs. And you can do it for like decent rates and do that remotely. So I'd say start there. Definitely look out for the scammers because there are some scammers out there in those programs. But I would say starting off with something like that.
Yeah. So shout out to Fiverr and Upwork. I know that's highly recommended with many contractors and consultants that we've talked to on the podcast shows in previous episodes. So definitely go out and find how you can make it work as a career in creative production, just like Matthew has established himself as. And so, Matthew, I know we are winding down to our portion of the episode that we consider the final jewels, where we allow you as our special VIP guest to leave a final jewel of wisdom with the audience of something that you would want them to take home with them as a jewel of wisdom. What would be a final jewel that you would want to leave with the audience today, Matthew?
Yeah, final jewel that I'd say is just start. Start, try it. You never know where it's going to end up. And I found like once I just started and really put myself out there, I found something that I truly loved, and I'm truly working in something that I truly loved. So I'd say just start.
I love it. I love it. And where can people find you if they want to stay in touch with you and also consult with you, maybe even get your service for your business? How can people stay in touch with you?
Yeah, the main resource is my website. So go to rainbowcreative.co. That's probably the best way to reach out to me. And it has our link to our Instagram and everything out there. But rainbowcreative.co. And then rainbow creative _ actually would be the Instagram. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, definitely. We want to make sure, I'll change it real quick, Matthew. We want to make sure that y'all are tapping in and tracking with Matthew's journey. He's doing some big things out in the city of dreams, out in Hollywood. You can definitely go and track with Matthew at rainbowcreative.co.co. And then also on IG, you can follow him at rainbowcreative _. So shout out again to all of the creatives out there, and also those who are into wanting to learn about the creative production side, because I've met Matthew and a select amount of other producers that are actually getting paid and establishing a career in production and not just doing it for fun. And so there's tons of ways, like Matthew has shown us, that we can all be able to pivot into a career of production. And so, Matthew, I'm going to say, before we let you go real quick, we always say a quick a prayer of thanks or a quick blessing of thanks onto any of our guests that come on the show. But if anyone that is listening to the replay or watching us live on Wisdom or watching us live on our episode premiere, if you feel led, this is good soil to sow into, feel free to sow a seed into our vision for the RTJ podcast movement. You can sow 3 ways. You can cash app us at $SMART, SMART, JEWELZ, or you can click the link that is in the comment section to become a monthly Patreon with us. Or you could consider partnering as a sponsor or an affiliate partner with a future episode for our season 4 or our next season that is upon us. And so shout out again to all of our VIP sponsors that have been a part of the movement for this season. All the names and also companies that you see on the bottom ticker are people that have sown into our business, so we could not have made season 4 a success without you. But Matthew, I'm going to say a quick prayer over you, King, and then let you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Father God, I just want to thank you for Matthew being just a voice of truth and also a voice to empower others to stop waiting for the perfect set, stop waiting for the perfect wave, but to just get out there and make it happen, and to trust their talents and to believe in their skill set, and to most importantly build up their network and their tribe so that they can feel the love and support in order to survive and thrive as a business owner. We thank you for his passion and his purpose that he's put into his career in production and even into podcasting. We pray that you will continue to provide him new opportunities to partner, even new business partnerships in the near future, and even to continue putting his face out there as a speaker and also as a leader to show others the way. I love you, Father. I praise you and I honor you. And it's in Yahshua HaMashiach, the Christ's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen. That was awesome.
We thank you, Matthew, for coming on again too, King. And tell people one more time how they can get in touch with you before we let you go.
Yeah, so rainbowcreative.co is where you can go, and then my Instagram at rainbowcreative_.
Absolutely. So y'all go and track with Matthew, and we'll be in touch, King. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, peace, man. All right, y'all. Y'all heard from Matthew. He literally was dropping his playbook in telling us, myself included, how you can get established with a career in creative production. Literally, there's tons of different areas of production. We've interviewed a few guests that have worked in different areas of production, but this king right here, Matthew, I saw that he was doing big things, especially even knowing he was a speaker at the conference that we were both speaking at. And so he's someone that actually is doing the work. You can check his resume, check his website out. He's actually working on serious products and projects out in LA, California, that is, in Hollywood, as you heard him say. So he's someone you for sure want to associate with and also connect with. And so some final jewels for thought. Just make sure that you are taking time to see, what are you passionate about? What are you passionate about? What is your purpose? What is your calling, or what are your giftings, your talents? Because if you don't know your talents or your giftings, how are you going to be able to show and also give them away to other people to help them get to the next level, to help them do what they were called to do, which is to be impactful and to also be influential. So you have to start with yourself first and then work your way up from there. How are you living and also following your passion and also your purpose? And how are you going to be able to monetize it? You heard from Matthew multiple times that he had to have side hustles. He had to have a part-time gig while he was getting his full-time business established. He even had to solicit donations and seed offerings from his friends and family instead of getting birthday gifts. How many of us would ask our friends or our family to sow into our business, to sow into our vision, to sow into crowdfunding our vision for our business versus going and getting gifts, going and taking a trip? Literally, the trip can be taken once you establish yourself business-wise. The gifts, you can buy them for yourself when you get established. But how many of us would ask our tribe, our community, to sow into us like Matthew did? That's something even I'm considering with crowdfunding, because I've heard from a lot of creatives, that's how a lot of them got their startup capital, by talking to their family, talking to their business associates, talking to their fellow employees, and literally making a proposal or a media kit so that people can know that you mean business and that you're serious out here. You're not just shooting a lot of crap in a lot of game to people trying to game or scam people. You're actually going to follow through with what you told them you're going to do. And so those are some jewels for thought to think about, you all, as you move and as we all move forward. We have to be able to put passion and put our money up to make our vision become a reality. And so we have podcast coaching services that we even offer with Smart Jewels Enterprises, who powers the RTJ show. And so if you're looking to reach new audiences, the secret to your growth is right in front of you. All you have to do is go to www.smartjewelz enterprises.org in order to sign up for a free 30-minute discovery session. And here you'll be able to see we have services in podcast show creation, live streaming services for your podcast or your live show, similar to what we're doing right now. If you need technical assistants that are working behind the scenes, like our tech support team, to make your show or your podcast professional and high quality. And if you're an educator or a teacher that is looking to turn your content into courses or classroom meeting solutions, webinar hosting, we have what you need, you all. And so definitely check us out at www.smartjewelz Enterprises. Also, so stay tuned, you all. For those who were able to see our video, we are taking our show on the road. We are taking the show international. We've already been to El Salvador this year, DR. We're going to Asia and then also Africa later on this year to interview young professionals and entrepreneurs that are killing it in their industry on the international trail. And so you can track with us, you all. We're putting our money where our mouth is, and we're also following through with what we said we were going to do from season 1 all the way now to season 4, you all. We started this thing off 3 seasons ago. We've continued to build our platform and build our audience and even just learn, especially the best practices in the podcasting sphere along the way. And so that's my challenge for you all, is to really take a look at the last 3 years, whether it's pre-COVID or post-COVID, and see, have you really put your money where your mouth is? Have you really put progress towards your dreams and your goals? Or are you just still talking about it? Are you still on the sidelines, afraid to bet on yourself, afraid to fail forward, as I like to say? From one of my mentors and also influencers, John Maxwell, always says to fail forward. You're not failing backwards, you're failing forward, because you should be learning the valuable lessons through different failures or through different setbacks. So you don't have to go through those same failures or setbacks again. And so you have to have your vision implemented and also not be afraid to put your vision into motion. And so stay tuned with us, you all. We're going to be going to the international territory even further and setting up some travel groups for next season for those creators and influencers who are serious about making international content. So stay ready so you don't have to get ready, you all. Also, again, go to www.smartjewelzenterprises.org to get started on your podcast today, or to see what are some of our additional services that you can tap in with us with. I'm Julian Smart Rimple, King Jewelz here, signing off. Y'all make sure to shine bright like the bright diamond jewel you were created to be, because people need to see the light and feel the light that is within you to have permission to shine themselves. So never be afraid of the light that is within you, and also never be afraid to share your light with others. And don't be selfish with that light. Please share it with others this season. And so I'll see you all next week. Stay hydrated, stay blessed. Until we meet again, y'all have a great